All right. I hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. We're going to try to structure this as normal as possible relative to all of our other team meetings. And so, like usual, I'd like to start off with something good. Anybody have some good news that they want to share over the last week plus? Everybody, go ahead and unmute yourself as needed.
This is Armando. I'll share a little something. Regardless of everything going on, I did get my clients. We submitted an offer. So we've been working on that for the past 2 days, and they accepted. So I'm just waiting on the final signature for our counter today. So at least that'll be accepted, and we can still work on inspections and things like that. So I'll just make a few calls and get somebody that's willing to get out there and not become a zombie and go do inspections and stuff for us.
Congratulations, man. That's really killer. Nothing is stopping us. Anybody else? Good news? Not all at once. Mondo, I'm taking a note. I know we are, some of our preferred inspectors that we've worked with in the past are kind of quarantining themselves, and they've decided to hold off on going on inspection. So I'll do what I can to make sure that we find somebody for you, okay? Anybody else? Something good in the last week? Jimmy, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm well. You're in the office.
Yes.
You look fantastic. How is everything?
Buddy. It's great. It's great.
Good.
You want me to talk about
pathway to real estate? That's because the pathway to real estate is still open.
Yeah, it is.
Appraisers are appraising.
Yeah.
Right. The banks are open.
The quarter's office.
Do you want me to give some updates that I'm getting like today about fundings and?
We're gonna get to that. I love it.
Okay.
Happy to have everybody here once again. Bucket fillers, I want to take a second to thank everybody over the last week or so that has just kind of helped to roll with everything. Obviously, things are different, and we're structuring things a little bit different than we're used to. But we've, as a team, done a fantastic job, I think, of making the pivot and rolling with everything as it comes to us. So big bucket fill to everybody that's in the room, everybody that's attended the daily meetings on Zoom. A big thank you and shout out to Robin and Andrew and Dan and Brian, who've helped really navigate this as we kind of tackle everything that's going on. I just want to say thank you guys so much and fill everybody's bucket that's here today, as well as those that have been here before. Thanks, guys.
Hey, shout out to Ray too for doing the Zooms, man. We really appreciate it. Okay, Ray?
Pleasure is all mine, Lou. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, bud.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you all. I don't know who that was, but thank you. Anybody else? Any fun bucket fillers? Anybody you want to shout out in or outside the office? Kevin Hall, welcome, welcome. All right, guys, let's dive in. I want to start, if that's okay, with Jimmy, get some updates on the financial market, see what the mortgage market is looking like. Jimmy, do you want to share some stuff with us?
Sure. So my main concerns were, first of all, appraisals, which are not as much of a concern anymore. I sent out an email a couple days ago stating that since appraisers are deemed to be essential, they can still do their jobs. Also, lenders are trying to ease up the requirements. So where and this is in some cases, but everyone's trying to move this direction. Where we required a full appraisal, sometimes we're trying to make it so we can do a drive-by. Also, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are trying to expand their guidelines, or open up the guidelines a little bit on what will be required for them to do an appraisal waiver. So in the past, like if you put 25% down on a single family unit and it's a conventional loan, sometimes we'd get an appraisal waiver and we just wouldn't have to do one at all. They're trying to expand that. So maybe it'll be for condos, maybe it'll be for less money down, et cetera. I'm not sure exactly what it means yet, but they're working on it. So there's a lot of effort being put towards that element to make sure that it's not like gonna hold us up. The other is verifications of employment. So there's some new stuff today. At the end of every deal, as most of you know, we have to do, or the lender has to do, a verification of employment, which is just where they call call the borrower's employer and say, hey, does so-and-so still work there? Are they still employed? That's it. It's a simple step, but in times like this, it's a little bit tougher. So they're kind of changing the requirements on that. What we're needing now is an attestation, which is even just an email from the borrower stating that their hours were not reduced, they're not getting fired, and they're financially affected by anything that's going on. If they are, that can cause a problem. So that could affect buyers and buyers from your listings or whatever. Be aware of that. That's for employed borrowers. For people who are self-employed, we have to verify that for within 15 days of closing that whatever business you own is still operational. And we're not really sure how they're going to do that. They might, whatever the lender is doing, that might Google it or require some kind of documentation from that business. So that's what we've got now. But if your buyer is not affected, then you should be fine. You just have to do a little more due diligence to make sure that they're okay. We're fully up and running. All the lenders are up and running. Oh, one other thing, some lenders are not locking. They won't let you lock until either the loan's approved or submitted or the appraisal is done. So we're not always able to lock right away, but in some cases we are. It just depends on which lender we're using. But that could come up.
Any questions about that, guys? Jimmy, can we talk a little bit about what rates we're seeing? I know there was some questions last week about when the Fed dropped interest rates for lenders to 0. What are we seeing on the consumer front?
So the Fed rate dropping to 0, those aren't mortgage rates. That's just for liquidity, for businesses to keep running and borrowing money cheaply so that they can operate. Our rates are kind of all over the place. The margin was taken out, so you have to pay a point now to get to where to get into the low 3s, but that's actually settling down a little bit, and it changes honestly drastically every day. So today we're trying, it's starting to kind of normalize, which is great. So which means rates are getting better and they're going to hopefully stay there. Whereas last week you could look at a rate sheet in the morning and then in the afternoon and then at night and you'd get a different rate by half a point. It was insane. That's settling. It looks like it's settling at least. So
with
mid to high threes.
Mid to high threes.
Yeah. Also, I'm seeing that like government loans, VA and FHA, are not drastically lower than conventional like they usually are. They kind of raise those. I'm not sure why, but they're a little bit higher.
Okay. With the verification of employment that you mentioned, do we anticipate that prolonging escrow? Obviously, with the other stuff going on, I think we should anticipate, 30 days.
I think it could delay escrows by a day or two.
Okay.
Definitely, because you're also relying on HR departments and payroll companies to actually perform the verifications of employment. And if they're home or they're working remotely or they have their own delays going on, then that'll delay us. So yeah, anticipate delays on that. You should also anticipate fallout from it, and minor, but it could, if someone comes up at the end of the transaction, their hours were cut in half, then that's gonna affect the ability to lend to them. So it could happen. Yes.
Guys, any questions for Jimmy? Everybody right now is on mute. To unmute yourself, you just go to the bottom of the screen on the left-hand side, click the microphone.
Oh, I
Z, did you have a question?
No, I'm
No?
good.
Are you ready for your time in the spotlight?
Yeah.
All right,
Ready.
Z, let's go to you then. Let's talk about some stuff that you're seeing. Let's talk about escrow.
We've seen a couple cancellations, not too many. We had one that canceled, but then it had a backup offer, so we right away opened that. We have a couple ones that are 7 to 10 day cash deals. So I personally think that people are taking their money out of their stocks at this time and maybe investing it in properties and paying cash for it. So we've lost a couple closings this month, but we've also opened 3 escrows this week already. Last week we closed 9 escrows. This week we've already closed 3. We have 2 more to close this week and another 2 on Monday, I think. So we're still having a good month, and everything's going good. Kim and I are the only ones in the office. It's a little quiet at times, but it's okay.
We miss you, that's for sure.
Well, this is why Kim and I did this fun video for you guys to see us this morning. So yeah,
It's keeping us entertained. Keep it up.
that's good. We're keeping ourselves entertained.
Good.
I mean, we're really, honestly, we're truly busy. Like we've been getting here at 8, leaving at 5, and just like nonstop work. We really appreciate everyone opening and closing escrow still. We're here for you all day, even after work hours, answering emails and stuff. So just let us know if you need anything or if you guys are concerned about your clients. There are some people that are freaking out, and we understand that, but we're still moving along here.
We appreciate you and all your hard work. We know that there's a lot going on, and so you showing up and first entertaining us, and 2, keeping escrows running and everything going the way that it's supposed to. It's much appreciated. Any questions to Z or Jimmy? Brian, any input?
No, I just want to say thanks to both of them. As you can see, they're both in the office. They've been deemed essential, unlike us realtors, but they're all part of the
You are all very essential.
banking and financial institutions. So I'm glad that we have 2 essential people, 3 essential people, and thank you guys for showing up and pouring in, because the pathway, and I'm just going to say it 100 times on this call if you allow me, but the pathway for transacting real estate is still open. Yes, there's some hurdles. Jimmy just told you a few of the hurdles he's now having to jump through to get deals funded, and yet there's still funding. So our escrow companies and our title companies and our county recorder's office and our lenders, they're open for business. So if we've got motivated, qualified buyers and sellers, we can still transact.
We do. And, you know, there are some people that are concerned about leaving their homes. I actually had to go to a seller who lives in assisted living in La Jolla yesterday because they're not allowed to leave the facility and no one's allowed to go in. So we literally sat outside the door on park benches and did all the paperwork and notarized everything. So anything can be done. We're very flexible. Kim has also went to clients' homes and notarized some loan documents. I mean, it was through the window or the door, but we're trying to make it convenient for everybody, you know, so just if you guys need anything, just let us know. We're willing to help.
You guys are rock stars. Thank you so much. And Z, just to make sure everybody's aware, County Recorder's office is closed next Tuesday, right?
Next Tuesday they are closed. It's a holiday for 2020. It's Cesar Chavez Day. So that day has already been closed. The county recorder is closed to the public, but we are still recording everything by e-recording, which is just scanning docs over. So I don't see that going away anytime in the future, but no one can walk into the county recorder's office to record anything, and taxes are still due on April 10th. That doesn't change either. Second half property taxes.
Thank you, Z. Much appreciated. Any other questions before we move on, guys? All right, so while we're still kind of on the topic of what's going on in the market, I do want to make sure that we're talking a little bit about market statistics, and I want to keep you guys educated and informed regarding what we're seeing based on SDAR stats through the MLS. In the last 7 days, and bear in mind the announcement was made Wednesday night that this was declared a pandemic, and that essentially we're taking steps to with the shelter in place, etc. In the last 7 days since that announcement, we've seen 1,012 new listings in San Diego County. 663 properties went pending and 802 were sold. That includes 351 new listings just this week. So as Brian said, there is still a pathway to conduct real estate.
Hey Ray, I think this is awesome data. Will you go through that again, just real slowly because I'm going to write it down.
Yeah.
Because when my clients call me, what a great piece of reliable information to have to let them know what's happening in the last 7 days. So we go through it one more time.
Yeah, so in the last 7 days, 1,012 new listings, and this is San Diego County, okay? Including 663 pending and 802 properties sold. That's the last 7 days. And then since Monday, we've had 351 new properties come to market in the MLS. Okay, so those are big numbers. We're not seeing a dramatic decline. On top of that, the median sales price in February of this year was $590,000. The median sales price in the last 7 days is $595,000. Okay, the median over the course of March is just over $585,000. So we're not seeing a dramatic drop at all right now in home values that are being sold. Okay, so that's important to keep note, and we'll continue to monitor that, and I'll let you know if things change or as things change. But right now, what that's telling us is that buyers are still going in on properties. We're not seeing a loss of equity, that there's still plenty coming to market. There's motivated sellers. As Jimmy said, we've got to continue to monitor interest rates and make sure that everybody has documentation. We're able to expedite things. I think if we're preparing our clients, whether buyer and seller, for just kind of some of the new ways that we're transacting business, we're seeing in numbers, it's not slowing up the market just yet. Okay?
Thanks for that data, Ray. That's just terrific. We really need that. So keep that coming, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Guys, if you look on the chat screen, I just added those statistics to the chat screen as well. So as you're talking, bottom of your screen, you'll see a chat button. You can always open that and participate.
Hey, real quick, what was that for the lot since Monday? It was at 151?
351.
351.
351. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. And once again, median sales price in February, $590. Median sales price the last 7 days, $595. Okay, so it's not affecting home values that have been sold just yet, which is fantastic. That's great news to relay to your sellers. Okay, any questions before we move on, guys? Okay. I do want to touch base on what's going on through KW Connect. If you aren't aware, there are training videos going on every day through KW Connect, and we're not talking 1 or 2 videos. They're putting out about 10 to 15 videos per day. It's borderline overwhelming how much training we got, and it just goes to show that that our company is really pouring into our agents, making sure that you've got the education you need, in addition to our daily calls that are running from 12 to 12:30, 1 o'clock. You've got a ton of resources available on KW Connect. If you need the link to that, just let us know. We'll get you sent over. We're going to try to compartmentalize that a little bit for everybody so you can see what training is being offered. I want to touch base on the email that we sent out yesterday. And Brian, I'd love to chat with you a little bit just regarding some of the protocols that we're putting in place to clear up some things. Did everybody, I'm assuming, Robin, we sent that out yesterday, later afternoon, right? So the email essentially outlines kind of what our role is and what we can still do and how we can still continue to transact. All right, so appraisers are still allowed to go out. Home inspectors are still allowed to go out. Handymen are still allowed to go out. Protocol is that the agent does not need to be present for any of those activities. Okay, right now we're utilizing the tools that we've got so that we can transact virtually, so that we can communicate through Zoom, FaceTime, WhatsApp, a phone call, whatever it happens to be. But you can continue to schedule the things that you need to do with the vendors that we've got that are still going out. Basically what we're saying is agents don't need to be present. Okay.
Wait, Ray, I thought the governor said that, that can't happen. I thought that was a whole thing till the 31st, that people need to be in their house, especially people that are doing things around others at all, or in other people's property.
With properties that you've got in escrow, we sat down with our legal department and they outlined that appraisers, general inspectors, handymen can still be scheduled. The agent should not be present, and they're also recommending that the homeowner not be present, essentially to limit the social contact.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It
Any
does.
questions about that so far, guys?
Nope.
With vacant properties, we're kind of tackling things on a case-by-case basis. If you have questions about that, let us know. We're going to collaboratively figure out how best to tackle that. Broad approach, though, is, as Dan said, the government is really asking folks to stay home. If it's not an essential activity, if it's not a property that we've got in escrow, use the technological tools that we have in place. There's plenty of alternatives to in-person showings. All right. And before we move on, I want to make sure that if anybody's got any questions, we can address those. It's important to know that this isn't a Keller Williams mandated thing. We're abiding by the guidelines that the government has put in place. CAR is really kind of rallying to clarify some things and to work on the agent's behalf. But right now we're erring on the side of caution and following what the California government is trying to outline for us. Brian, did you have anything?
No, thank you for that. And you guys can always text Peter if you have some questions in that regard. I do want to also just make sure everyone understands what we mean by technology. Certainly, almost everyone does photos and virtual tours on their listings. There are some other companies who are pivoting, and I think they're great examples for us on how you pivot and shift and move ahead. I'll share my screen really quickly. I got this email today. This is a company who is doing virtual staging. So I find it a little pricey, but rather than you or the sellers paying for staging right now, when there may be limited showings, you can actually virtually stage. You just send them the picture of the room, and they actually use Photoshop and virtually stage. So that's definitely one thing that you can do. Also, there's a company called Matterport. I know a lot of you have heard of them before. They do 3D photos and floor plans. They are offering an exceptional deal. If you have a listing, their pricing was starting at $200, which is actually the exact same price that most professional photographers are spending right now. Get those emails over to Ryan and get them to you. But for $200, Matterport is doing full 3D stagings. What allows the consumer to actually walk through the home as if they were in the home. And I would do that in lieu of regular photos. So
What company is that?
Matterport, and I will make sure Robin gets both the emails and sends them out to everybody. I'm not endorsing any particular company. What I'm saying is that's the type of technology we're talking about. And imagine what you get to do for your sellers and bringing solutions to the table, not problems.
If you haven't seen Matterport, guys, it's a really cool, essentially 3D floor plan that, as Brian said, you can take a virtual tour through the home. If you've ever looked at a new construction website where you can navigate and press the arrows, kind of like Google Earth, you can virtually walk through the home, get a feel for the floor plan, and then Brian, it also gives you an aerial of the floor plan as well, correct? You're on mute, bud. Hey, Brian, you're on mute.
It's probably because he's on the
I'll make sure everybody gets a copy.
Okay, cool.
There's also it's not just Matterport. Matterport's the camera, but there's a company called Film 360, and they're the ones who sent out the email today for the $200. Again, I'll make sure everybody has it. I can't pull it up from my computer right now, so you guys will get it later.
Okay. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Continuing on that line or on that topic, we've gotten quite a few questions about virtual showings and virtual open houses, and I really want to just clarify a couple things just regarding what that is and what that entails. And guys, it's really simple. Brian, we got an email from Elizabeth just kind of outlining some of the things that we're seeing with virtual showings. If you've got a seller that's in the house and they've got access to a FaceTime or an iPhone where they can create a video and walk the clients through the house, that's really it. We're basically just conveying to seller, hey, can you provide a walkthrough, a video walkthrough of the home? And just so you guys know, we're using Zoom right now. You can create your own Zoom account, and they offer free conference videos just like this, up to 40-minute videos, and it's unlimited. You can do as many as you want. So if you've got a seller, an agent, and a buyer, you've got 4 parties, including yourself, you can walk through the home collectively and ask questions, kind of like a conference call, similar to what we're doing now. So in terms of a virtual showing, that's really what we're talking about. If you can chat with the seller and have them provide you know, a walkthrough, a real-time walkthrough, and then create a forum where questions can be asked by the agent and clear things up with the buyer, that's really it. And then from there, you can get as creative with it as you want. Does that make sense, guys?
Yep.
Yeah, it does. Hey, Ray, on that topic, and I think it's in this gray area of showing up. For instance, we have a fixed renovation property in Bay Park coming up. It's always next week because guys, takes a long time. Anyway, when it is ready, it's going to be ready, but it'll probably be still within the quarantine, the bulk of the quarantine zone. My logic tells me that if Gary goes there or one of our salespeople goes there and it's vacant and has a virtual open house, I guess I'm trying to see the harm in that versus.
Yeah, Kevin, those are the case by case basis that we want to discuss with everybody. That's why we wrote on vacant listings. We'll take those things on a case by case basis. We're doing our best to make sure that everybody's livelihood is looked out for. We also have a responsibility as a business to abide by the law and the governor's orders. We also have a responsibility to take care of the wellness of our neighbors and our family and all of that. So if you have case by case situations, then we're happy to discuss those with us. Just let us know. That would be a really great example, rather than Gary leaving the house, to call the Photo 360 folks that I just talked about. I'm sure your investor would be very impressed with that type of service from you, to create those type of 3D virtual tours in advance, so that people don't have to tour the home necessarily in order to get a sense of what it is to buy it.
Okay, well, let's hold this for a case to case conversation.
Yeah, with vacant properties, once again, we do want to make sure that that's on a case by case basis. And I want to reiterate, guys, we're trying to work for you and keep everybody safe, make sure that business is running as normal as possible, and continue to abide by the guidelines that have been set by the government. Essentially, what we're really pushing is let's make sure that we're using the tools that we've got to continue pushing business forward, while also being responsible and safe about it.
Yeah, there's a bigger conversation, obviously, about what all of our social responsibility is. But just pragmatically, I want to make sure everybody knows that if you break the law, there's no insurance for that. I want everyone to really hear that. E&O, general liability, workers' comp, if you're breaking the law, insurance doesn't cover those types of things. So just remember that.
Any questions about let's touch on the virtual open houses as well. Right now, those are going to be pretty much stopped because the agents are asked to not be present in the home. And yet if the homeowner is there and they want to host a virtual open house, it's very similar to the virtual showing. Open up a Facebook Live, give a property tour, and allow questions in the chat screen to be asked and answered. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. With the virtual stuff, we don't necessarily need to do anything crazy intricate, guys. Don't overthink it. If you've got a GoPro, awesome. Give that to your client. If your client is willing to just pull out their iPhone and take some videos, that's really all that we're asking. And that's most of the time all that's going to be needed. I think everyone, buyers and sellers, understand that things are a little different, and we're operating not under 100% normal circumstances. We're just kind of working with what we've got. The fantastic part about it is the tools that we do have are pretty great. We've got the resources to continue running our business using the video tools and the digital tools that we've been using forever.
Yeah.
Okay?
Ray, can I share something real quick? So obviously with the news and everything like that, there's a ton of speculation out there. And I think it's important that we start getting our information from one source. So I don't know if everybody knows, but on the California Association of Realtors website, they actually have a Corona update website. And in the left-hand column, they have every single thing you need about your business, meetings and events, frequently asked questions, talking points, best practices, and even what the market has assumed it's going to do, because they've actually taken surveys from realtors on how many people they've actually lost in escrow or things like that. But this is, I think, a great hub for all of us to kind of pull information from. That way we're educating our clients on the same thing across the board, and we're not going out speculating what the market's going to do. Is this a recession? How long is this going to last? This is actually a great tool that I've been using to kind of educate my clients when they're asking me these questions.
Mark, thank you. Yeah, do you mind sharing that link, if possible, in the chat?
It's right on California Association. So if you go in as, if you access your zip forms from car.org, the website's already set up. It's embedded into the screen. So it's really actually a pretty useful link. But it's every question that you can think of. What we're going through right now will be in here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Mark, yeah, thanks for sharing. And I'm sure, Ray, you're going to share this as well, but Keller Williams has actually created the same exact resource. And I actually find it to be better. I don't find necessarily the folks at California Association of Realtors to be practitioners. They're not in the field day to day handling the same thing we are. So Keller Williams Realty has created two, I think, fantastic resources that I'm leaning into heavily. I'm going to put a chat screen right now. First is, if you guys go to KW Connect and you go to the Pivot Shift Ahead page, I just put the link in the chat for everybody. That has live videos, real-time experiences from agents in the field and agents across the country about what they're doing to navigate. And if you want to participate in a nationwide conversation, go to Facebook, go to groups, and type in Pivot Shift Ahead. You'll see that there's already a Facebook group that has, I think, over 50,000 people who joined in the last 72 hours. Those are agents from all brands participating in a conversation about how they're conducting real estate right now. So I agree with you, Mark, and I really appreciate you speaking up that if we're getting information from 72 different sources, that things get a little muddled. So California Association of Realtors is obviously a good reference site for things, but as far as practicing real estate, pivoting in real estate, shifting your business, tactics, strategies, lean heavily into the Facebook page and lean heavily into KW Connect on that Pivot Shift Ahead.
And on that note, guys, it's a fantastic transition. I want to make sure that that everyone knows that the videos that are going out on Connect, and as Brian said, that Facebook group is open to any brokerage, any agent. If you've got colleagues out there, we're kind of in that time where people are really thirsty for knowledge and thirsty for direction. Invite them, share some of the Connect groups, invite them to that Facebook page. We'd love to share some of the content that we've got going out. It's important to stress, you're going to hear it a lot, we really are all in this together. This is an industry thing. It's not a Keller Williams thing. You've got companies that are really struggling to transition. Compass laid off 15% of their workforce, and they've basically stopped their concierge program. That's a big part of how they do business. And their agents, they're going to need information as well. Let's make sure that we're paying it forward. If you've got colleagues that need resources, share some of this stuff with them, put them in touch with me. I'd be happy to get them what they need, but just recognize, we're all in this together. We're all trying to help each other. for the sake of the industry, for the sake of our clients, continue to lean into what we've got available. All right.
Yeah, Ray, just on that note, hey everybody, how you doing?
Hi, Peter.
I think that, one of the key components of the California Association of Realtor Broker call I was on was talking about how the market is going to be different from a standpoint of more electronics, sort of exponentially expediting the virtual real estate world of sorts, and how, in my mind, Keller Williams was ahead of the curve on that, if you will, and we're in a sort of more poised position than many other brokerages. So, as a selling point of, just being ahead of the curve. I mean, we've got those tools, and I think it's probably time to start bragging and or sort of leveraging those to our advantage.
Thank you, Peter. I love that. Yeah, we're fortunate. I keep looking at all the things that we've got going on, and it makes me extremely thankful that we're a part of a company who had the foresight to anticipate a market shift, not quite like this. I don't think anybody really did. And yet we were able to put the tools in place and start transitioning 5 years ago when everybody was riding the wave up. So once again, guys, just lean into what we've got available to us. Any questions before we start to wrap up?
I would say, can I add something real quick? Right now, one thing that's been working a little bit is reaching out to small business owners. Not less than the big corporate ones, but the places that are offering discounts on takeout and stuff like that right now. I've had people that were huge supports and sponsoring things for me and our team. And right now they need our support because they're trying to figure out how to keep their employees at play. So if you have it within your wherewithal, reach out to the small businesses, patronize them, and just remember, we're all small business, but we need to support each other.
And on that note, you see some really amazing outpour on social media and these videos on the news. I want to remind everybody, we don't think sometimes about the folks that are behind the scenes, making sure that our life continues to operate as normal as possible. These folks that, the truck drivers and delivery drivers that are making sure our grocery stores are stocked, the medical workers that are working, 12, 13, 14, 16-hour shifts. If you know anybody or somebody that knows somebody that is helping contribute to us continuing to live our life, make sure you thank them, guys. That I can only imagine some of the stuff that they're seeing and going through, and I'm sure just a small show of appreciation would go a long way. So please make sure that if you do have food delivered, thank the person that brought it. If you're in the grocery store, thank the folks that are working while we're, being able to enjoy time at home and we're close to our families. I really want to make sure to stress that this doesn't look like it's ending anytime soon. We're going to be working like this for a while. And while we're here at home with folks that we love, there are folks out there that are making sure that we've got what we need. So make sure you thank them. Does that make sense?
Quick
Kevin.
question.
Yes, sir.
From a practical standpoint, we've got a check coming in from a referral fee. How are checks going to be handled with nobody being allowed at the office? So,
and Andrew's here, and he can jump in.
Hey, Kevin. So typically, I'll be coming into the office to do the check deposits and distribute the check packets, deal with the referrals and things like that. So I'll be in there Friday. Kim and Z are there every day. They're checking the mail. And so they can let me know when things like that come in. But otherwise, at this time, it'll, unless somebody, direly needs it, it'll be distributed on Fridays. We'll give you a call, see if you want to come pick it up or if you want us to just mail it to you.
Okay, outstanding.
Alternatively, the majority of escrow companies, including Cal Coast Escrow, during this time, with Market Center and DA approval, we can wire commissions to your bank account.
Yeah,
so if you don't want to wait for a check, then you can talk with Andrew, and we can approve those. And if you want the commission check wired instead of a check going out, then we can set that up. Not a problem.
This is just an oddball one because it's a referral from Oregon type thing. So.
Yeah, the referrals are a little bit different. But I also wanted to just put this out there. We do have a lot of people on the call right now. I think that's awesome. But just so that all of you know, if you didn't know already, we actually do this call every single day now at noon. So it's not just the once a week on Wednesdays. So please feel free to check in, jump on those calls, participate, ask questions. We can really gear these things towards whatever it is that everybody would like to discuss. And also, I saw a great post on one of the Facebook groups. Somebody was basically saying that if you don't come out of this quarantine being an expert at command, then you're just not doing it right. So please, if you want to schedule time with me, we do have a Zoom account. I can do one-on-one or small group sessions. If you have questions on command or if you'd like any training, please reach out to me, send me an email, and we can set up a time and have a Zoom conference, and I can go over some training with you. So just don't forget that we're all, we're here for you. We're here if you guys have questions or if you guys need anything. So just reach out if you need it.
Really quick. We are notifying when checks are coming in. So if you do have a check that's coming in, you can either let us know that we should be expecting it. And then when we do, we will notify you as well. And then you can, if you want, pick it up at the office and we'll just kind of squeeze it through the front door. But if it's coming from another escrow company, you can also obviously get them to wire it.
Andrew and Kim, thank you guys a bunch. I appreciate all that you guys are doing. Any questions, guys?
That was actually Z, not Kim.
Oh, I'm reading her name tag and it's throwing me off. Andrew,
I'm sorry, I couldn't get it to work on the computer, so I'm Kim today.
Thank you, Z. Tell Kim thank you as well.
I will.
All right, guys, last thing before we go, as Andrew said, and thank you again for mentioning, we are doing calls every day at 12 o'clock. They're typically about 30 minutes long, covering a number of topics, including kind of like a book club for Shift. Every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, we're covering a different chapter in Shift. Tomorrow, we're gonna move forward and do kind of like a Q&A town hall type session. We'd love everybody to log in and just have a discussion about what we're seeing, what questions we've got, what things that we haven't been able to address in the last week. So come prepared with those. If you don't mind, spend the night, racking your brain, thinking about some things that we want to address or discuss tomorrow. And we'll just kind of create a little bit of an open forum for our mastermind.
Hey, Ray, one last thing before you guys all leave. This was a question posed by one of our teams regarding the COVID-19 addendum. So for all of you guys know that California Association of Realtors threw together almost overnight an addendum that we can insert into our transaction. So I wanted to go over some best practices. The itself, if you guys will give me just 1 second, I'm going to see if I can pull this up on my screen. So give me 1 moment so I can share it with everybody.
Well, one thing I would say about that, Brian, is important for everybody to know that it is not a mandatory disclosure.
No, it is not a mandatory disclosure. And thanks, Dan.
Sure.
That's definitely what we're going to go over and go over some best practices. Also, the COVID-19 addendum is helpful. If there's going to be delays, I just also want to remind everybody that the ETA, your extension of time addendums, those still work just as well. So if you need extra time on contingencies, if you need to extend escrow, you can always use what we've always done, which is the ETA. But I'm going to share my screen with everybody right now quickly. Let's see if it comes through. Here we go. Can you guys all see that?
Yes.
Okay, so the coronavirus addendum was just created this month. It essentially reads that, listen, there's unforeseen things, unprecedented, unforeseen things that are happening right now. And when you read the coronavirus addendum, it automatically defaults right here to paragraph 1. And so the best practice right now that we're encouraging everybody to do is if you have a buyer under contract, proactively insert this into the conversation and into the transaction. Call the listing agent, let them know that you've checked with the lender, be honest, be upfront. Hey, it looks like we're going to be a few days behind, or hey, as of right now, it looks like everything's on track. However, before our buyer removes contingencies, we just want to get on the same page that if there is unforeseen delays due to businesses shutting down, delays with the fundings, delays with escrow companies and notaries and all of that, if there's some unforeseen delays, paragraph number 1 automatically extends the escrow up to 30 days. But I can tell you that my team has inserted these onto every single transaction, and either people are signing it, they don't understand it, or what's mostly happening is you have a chance to actually alter this. It doesn't have to be an automatic 30-day extension. So what we've been finding is we're talking to our lenders. If they're telling us everything's on track, we're still inserting this and just marking this as 10 days, giving us an automatic 10-day extension if necessary to close escrow if there are any delays. Box number 2 or 3 only apply if those circumstances exist. So if your buyer already removed the loan contingency and now can't successfully complete the transaction, maybe they were laid off and no longer qualify for their loan due to the business shutdowns, you're only checking box 2 and 3 if they apply. So the COVID-19 addendum is really meant to help extend the close of escrow date by default in number 1. And I would encourage everybody who represents a buyer to try to get a 5, 10, 15, if not 30-day automatic extension built into the deal. If you're writing new offers, include this right away. If you represent a seller, I wouldn't necessarily insert this into your transaction because we want to keep the buyers moving along. If you're presented with the COVID-19 addendum, educate your clients, let them know that you're obviously going to keep to the timelines. No terms are changing, but it's just possible that there's going to be delays in transactions. At this time, it's so crucial that everybody sit on the same side of the table, the buyer, the seller, both agents, not opposite sides of the table. We're all on the same side of the table trying to get deals done. So cooperate with your fellow agents, cooperate with the buyers, and if this is inserted on one of your listings, then maybe you just grant an automatic 10-day extension, not a 30, but a 10-day, and then work with the buyer and seller as needed.
Brian, can I jump in with a quick thought on that as well? Yeah, on the listing side, I'm seeing a little bit from our office of sellers wanting to use the COVID request in the middle of a transaction as an opportunity perhaps to have EMD released. Is some of the requests I'm seeing from sellers, like I'll give you this, but you need to give me that. And again, I think to echo your point, that really is a case-by-case situation because it is a collective effort to work together to close it. And so, you know, it really does vary case to case, but I am seeing sellers do that as well as a caveat. Ask for the EMD release.
Does that make sense, guys? Any other questions about the CBA? All right, guys. If nothing else, I'm hoping to see everybody here tomorrow. Holden, yes, we will get you added to the email list. I'm so sorry you haven't been getting those. We'll do that today.
No worries. Thank you, sir.
Not a problem, my friend. I hope everyone else out there is being safe. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you need anything, as always, just let us know. Jimmy and Z and Kim, as well as Andrew, Brian, thank you so much for your input. Robin, thank you for putting it together and continuing to keep everybody informed. And thank you guys all for bearing with us and just kind of helping us move things along. You guys are all fantastic and can't say thanks enough. Cheers, guys. Y'all be safe out there.
See you later.
See you tomorrow.
See you guys.
Adios. Thanks, ass.